So the latest Community Traders report out of the CFTC, we're going to start with FX. And the US dollar, well, really underperformed last week, especially after the Fed's policy shift when it comes to inflation targeting. We'll talk about that in more detail when it comes to the week ahead video. But for the time being, any trader holding a majority buy bias against the US dollar really managed to benefit. And when we take a look at the euro, in this case, a massive reduction in short positions ahead of the event, increasing longs at the same time. The net result is that majority buy bias up into further extreme buy territory, now up at 84%. Real beneficiaries when it comes to the euro following last week's move. And when it comes to the pound, they were also beneficiaries, given they were holding a majority buy bias, as the pound managed to best the greenback and breach through an important and key midterm resistance level. However, the bias is only slight majority long, and you can see that although they've dropped shorts, they actually dropped longs by a bit more than that. So the net result is an unchanged when it comes to a percentage bias. When it comes to the both safe haven yen and franc, they also managed to be relative beneficiaries of last week's moves. In this case, the percentage bias rising in the yen, dropping a little bit in the franc, but net result is for all four, they've managed to benefit. And when it comes to commodity currencies, it's a bit mixed, and that's because they're continuing to hold a heavy sell bias. When it comes to the Canadian dollar, they've dropped down to about 70%, still holding a slight majority short bias in the Australian dollar, which managed to relatively outperform. But in the New Zealand dollar, they are holding a majority long bias, and well, it did outperform, so in this case, they managed to be beneficiaries on that front. When it comes to oil, in this case, still holding an extreme buy bias. They're down a notch on the week before. Retail traders, by the way, still range trading these levels. They're going to start this week with a majority long bias, but in much more moderate territory, around 57%. And when it comes to precious metals, they're still holding, like retail traders, still holding a heavy to extreme buy bias. In the case of gold, though, unchanged as a percentage. When it comes to silver, up a couple of notches. And when it comes to platinum and palladium, still holding a heavy buy bias. Lastly, US indices did finish the week stronger, but when it comes to traders, not all of them really managed to benefit from these moves. In this case, they remain mixed. They're still heavy long when it comes to the tech-heavy NASDAQ, as well as majority long Russell, but they're majority short the Dow and the S&P 500. In the case of the Dow, they've actually reduced long positions, so that's actually taken the bias up into more moderate majority sell levels. Whereas in the case of the S&P 500, which made fresh record highs, that means that those shorts have been initiated at lower prices.